Dear friends, English literature, Elizabethan and Jacobean drama. Balboni by Ben Jonson, brief questions with answers, brief questions 290 to 267. Question 219. Balboni believes that who has come to capture him? Answer. Balboni believes that some soldiers have come to capture him. Question 220. Corbichu enters and asks what of Moscow? Answer. Corbichu enters and asks Moscow what happened and how he was injured. Question 221. What does Moscow tell Corbichu when he asked how he was injured? Answer. Moscow tells Corbichu that his son was searching to kill him in revenge for his disinheritance. Question 222. Scares to the discovery of your tricks, I fear. What does Bolter accuse Moscow of? Answer. Bolter accuses Moscow of double dealing. Who is going to be the heir? He demands Bolter or Corbichu. Question 223. What does Moscow tell Bolter when the latter accused the former of double dealing? Answer. Moscow tells Bolter that he had brought Bonario in to watch his father sign away his inheritance to Balboni, in the hopes that the enraged Bonario would kill his treacherous father, thus leaving the path open for Bolter to inherit the magnificous wealth. Question 224. Moscow hopes Bonario will do what to Corbichu? Answer. Moscow hopes that Bonario will kill his father, Corbichu. Question 225. Whom did Bonario kidnap? Answer. Moscow lies that Bonario had kidnapped Celia. Question 226. What does Moscow tell Bolter about Bonario's immediate? Answer. Moscow tells Bolter that Bonario had kidnapped Celia and made her cry rape in order to frame Balboni and thus make it impossible for him to inherit. Question 227. Why does Bolter take Moscow's side? Answer. Bolter takes Moscow's side, seeing the threat to his own interests, because if Balboni is convicted, he will not be able to inherit anything. Question 228. I'll not touch, sir, at your praise or clothes, for they are old. What does this mean? Answer. Here, Sir Politic means that he will not say anything about Peregrine's language and shabby clothes because they are all old subjects. Question 229. What is Sir Politic going to talk to Peregrine about while walking along a street? Answer. As Peregrine is a traveler and thus not from Venice, Sir Politic starts a conversation about life in Venice. Question 230. What does Sir Politic mean by saying, first, for your grave, it must be grave and serious? Answer. Here, Sir Politic means that Peregrine should be grave and sober in his behavior. Question 231. What two rules does Sir Politic teach Peregrine? Answer. Sir Politic teaches Peregrine two rules that he must follow in Venice. They are: number one, never speak the truth to a stranger, and number two, learn to have proper manners. Question 232. What does Lady Politic say about her husband while walking with Nano and two serving women? Answer. While walking with Nano and two serving women, Lady Politic talks about her husband's unfaithfulness in their marriage. Question 223. What does Lady Politic say about the effect of her father's unfaithfulness in their marriage? Answer. About the effect of her husband's unfaithfulness in their marriage, Lady Politic says that she is so frustrated that it is ruining her complexion and rubs her cheeks. Question 234. Why does Lady Politic think that Peregrine is a prostitute? Answer. Lady Politic says that her husband is unfaithful in their marriage. So when she sees her husband walking with Peregrine, she thinks that Peregrine is a prostitute disguised as a man. Question 235. What does Lady Politic do when she learns that Peregrine is a man? Answer. When Lady Politic learns that Peregrine is a man, she asks for his forgiveness. Question 236. Moscow. What is the injury, lady? Lady Peregrine. Why the callot? What is a callot? Answer. The word is used for a trumpet of the basket kind. Question 237. How does Lady Politic apologize to Peregrine? Answer. Lady Politic apologizes to Peregrine in a sexually suggestive manner by saying, "Pray you, sir, use me in faith. The more you see me, the more I shall conceive." Question 238. When Peregrine exclaims, "Sir Politic bold, to bring me thus acquainted with his wife," what does he mean? Answer. Peregrine thinks that Sir Politic is a pimp or an agent of a prostitute, as his wife apologizes to him in a sexually suggestive manner. Question 239. Why does Peregrine swear vengeance upon Sir Politic? Answer. Peregrine swears vengeance upon Sir Politic as he has been accused of being a prostitute. Question 240. What is scrutiny? Answer. Scrutiny is the Venetian Court of Justice. Question 241. Who conducts the case against Bonario and Celia? Answer. Bolter conducts the case against Bonario and Celia. Question 242. Why does Bonario think Bolter will be the co-heir? Answer. Bonario thinks Bolter will be the co-heir because he is helping Volpone. Question 243. Who says the story of Bonario and Celia was monstrous? Answer. The four advocatory say that the story of Bonario and Celia was monstrous. Question 244. I never heard a true voluptuary described but him. What does advocatory to refer to here? Answer. He refers to the story that Corbino agreed to prostitute his wife Celia to Volpone in exchange of becoming the heir. Volpone tries to rape Celia and that Corbichu disinherited his son Bonario. Question 245. His knave, his painter. I beseech the court, he may be forced to come. A knave is a male person, male servant, who is Bonario referring this to? Answer. Bonario is referring to Moscow. Question 246. Why couldn't Volpone come to the court? Answer. Moscow says that Volpone was weak, that he could not come to the court. Question 247. What does Bolter say against Bonario and Celia to the court? Answer. Bolter speaks to the court that Celia and Bonario are lovers and that Bonario went to Volpone's house to kill his father, Corbichu, for disinheriting him. But since he wasn't there, Bonario decided to attack Volpone. Question 248. What does Moscow say in the court against Bonario? Answer. Moscow shows his want as witness against Bonario. Question 249. What does Lady Woodville say against Celia in the court? Answer. In the court, Lady Woodville declares Celia to be a chameleon harlot, whom she claims to have seen seducing her husband. Question 250. What does Corbichu say against Bonario to the court? Answer. Corbichu says that he has disinherited Bonario and abuses him in a very base language. Bonario has not borne off his seat. Question 251. What does Corbino say against his wife in the court? Answer. In the court, Corbino denounces his wife as a whore and says that he has seen his wife with his own eyes in the act of sexual intercourse with Bonario. Question 252. Why does Celia faint in the court? Answer. As her husband accuses her in the court very heinously, she faints. Question 253. Who is Moscow's surprise witness? Answer. Lady Politic was Moscow's surprise witness. She speaks to the court that she had seen Celia and Bonario together. Question 254. What is a chameleon? Answer. A chameleon is a lizard that has the power of changing color. Question 255. Who does Lady Woodville call a chameleon? Lady Woodville calls Celia a chameleon. Question 256. Why does Lady Woodbey call Celia a chameleon? Answer. Lady Woodbey imagines that she met Celia first in the male clothes, that is Peregrine, in the company of her husband, and that she now sees Celia, without disguise. So she calls Celia a chameleon. Question 257. Why does Carboneau demand Corbichaux to pay Bolter? Answer. Carboneau is worried that Bolter will get part of Bolton's fortune, so he demands Corbichaux to pay Bolter. Question 258. What do Bonnerio and Celia say as their witnesses in the court? Answer. In the court, Bonnerio and Celia refer to Constance and Heaven as their witnesses. Question 259. Why do Bonnerio and Celia lose their case against Volpone? Answer. Bonnerio and Celia have no witnesses of their own, so they lose the case. Question 260. What does Volpone do to make himself feel better after the trial? Answer. After the trial, Volpone returns home and feels sick. He drinks wine to make himself feel better. Question 261. What is Volpone disguised as when he goes out into the town after the court hearing? Answer. Volpone disguises as a commendatory or a police officer when he goes out into the town after the court hearing. Question 262. What is the final joke that Volpone wants to do to the legacy hunters? Answer. His final joke is that he makes his jesters, Castron and Nano, declare through the street that Volpone is dead, and he tortures the legacy hunters being disguised as a commendatory. Question 263. Why does Volpone ask his jesters to declare that Volpone is dead? Answer. Volpone asks his jesters to declare that Volpone is dead in order to vex the legacy hunters more. Question 264. Who does Volpone send into the town to announce his death? Answer. Nano and Castron. Question 265. Whom does Volpone make heir to his fortune before torturing the legacy hunters disguised commendatory? Answer. Volpone makes Mosca heir to his fortune before torturing the legacy hunters disguised as a commentator. Question 266. What does Volpone ask Mosca to the legacy hunters if they want to see his dead body? Answer. Volpone tells Mosca, if they ask to see his dead body, to tell them it smelled and had to be coffined up immediately. Question 267. Who comes after hearing the news of Volpone's death? Answer. Bolter, Corbichaux, Carboneau, and Lady Politic come after hearing the news of Volpone's death. Thank you friends for watching my video.